Hi, I'm Jonathan Matusitz, and I'm here to describe the different reasons why we have terrorism. It's one thing to know what terrorism is with a broad definition, but it's also important to know why terrorism exists. So let me describe to you about 15 reasons why terrorism exists. The first reason, and the most obvious one, is religion. That zeal that is supported by Holy Scriptures. Think of Mohammed Atta, one of the leaders of the 19 hijackers on 9/11. In his suitcase, in the debris, a Quran was found in his suitcase, and it is a fact that Hamas killers and suicide killers from Hezbollah and other Islamic groups like to read passages from the Quran to motivate them. Another reason is oppression, whereby people are locked in resentment because their husbands were killed. Or maybe those black Chechen widows were raped by the Russian military, or other reasons. A third reason why we have terrorism is what we call historical grievances. It may be hundreds of years ago where your ancestors were killed by another group, and you can't let that go. Think of the ETA, that Basque group in Spain and southern France. A fourth reason why we have terrorism is violation of international law. Sure, the West has not always been clean, but for some reason, some terrorist group, again, can't let that go. And they're going to look at old violations of international law, and they will find that as an excuse to retaliate against specific targets. A fifth reason is relative deprivation, which is code for poverty. It may be true that in the Palestinian territories, for example, a lot of the youth are poor and they live in misery and they're deprived. So they're going to join terrorist groups that promise them that if they carry on their mission to the fullest, they will be rewarded, or at least their family will be rewarded. A sixth and similar reason is hatred toward the global hegemony. You know, this is usually similar to hatred toward the West, an attack on American fast food chains in Pakistan, or like the attack on the KFC fast food chain in Karachi, or the attack on the Sparrow pizza chain in Jerusalem in 2000. Another reason is financial reward, mostly for the families. Every time you have a suicide bomber in the Palestinian territories who become a martyr, the entire family gets over $2,000 a year because the person is now in heaven and can reap all the benefits with 72 virgins and 80,000 servants. Another reason is racism. And I'm thinking of the Texas Aryan Brotherhood, a neo-Nazi group that tends to target groups like Jewish people and African Americans. Another reason is guilt by association. This time you're going to kill people that you think are associating with the infidels. It can be a political opponent, or it can just be a family or an entire city. Think of 9/11. 3,000 Americans lost their lives on that day. What did those people do? Nothing. But of course, one of the main motives of Al-Qaeda was to kill as many infidels as possible. That's why you call that guilt by association. Another reason is the support of sympathizers. Now that one is more complicated. Supporting sympathizers is a phenomenon whereby you're going to let yourself known in the media, and by the same token you will increase your pyramid base, your following. Bin Laden was good at getting sympathizers from the Ummah, the world Islamic community, the Ummah. Another reason why we have terrorism is called mortality salience. Yes, mortality salience, which answers the following question: how should I die? Well, I would say that the vast majority of Americans would like to die of a heart disease or old age by the time they're 120. Well, some Islamists and radical Muslims in the Middle East would like to die by just killing infidels at the same time. Open the Quran, chapter 9, verse 111, or chapter 4, verse 74. They have similar meanings. They say the following: If you get killed in combat, but if you kill infidels in the process, you will reap the highest reward, the highest place in paradise. And this is how I should die. See, that's their reasoning. Another reason why we have terrorism is narcissism. Now this one is not very common. Narcissism is the idea of self-absorption, and you have a big ego. Your ego is as big as an elephant. So you want to run the world because everybody wants to run the world, but you want to rule the world. You should be the one. You've been selected. So it's a call that you have to answer. So you're going to commit terrorist acts against political opponents that you think are ruling the world. Narcissism. Another reason why we have terrorism is sensation seeking. Now, some people like to get thrilled. They like the idea of reaching a high and a higher high. They want to reach a lot of highs. Some people will smoke pot. Other people will engage in bungee jumping or skydiving. And some people will join terrorist groups because they want to reach that high. There are two more reasons why we have terrorism, and the last one is the most important. But right now we're at number 14. And number 14 is the failure to achieve diplomacy. It may be true that that conventional channel of diplomacy does not always succeed. When it does not succeed, we call that the death of statescraft. And the last reason is communication, publicity, advertising. On 9/11, 3 billion people witnessed what happened in New York and Washington, D.C. 3 billion people. That's more than watching the Olympics and the Soccer World Cup combined. See, that's free communication, free publicity. During that day, Al-Qaeda became a household name, for ill, but it became a household name. Everybody knew who bin Laden was. Al-Qaeda was airing its grievances. Well, 15 reasons as to why terrorism exists. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for paying attention.